Welcome to the Mukilteo Football Show. My name is Miles. The 2022 NFL regular season is over. We move on to the postseason. The matchups are set. We will talk about them this week, of course. But today, we got to talk about what happened in the final Sunday. Week 18 closes with a bang. Not the high stakes bang, that they advertised it as. Most of it was about competing for the 7th seed in the AFC and the NFC. And let's face it, no one cares. Or no one will care after those two teams get blown out next week, probably. But there was still some good football, some fun football out there. Sunday Night Football, of course, the Packers and Lions. We all, maybe except for us here in Seattle, most of the country wishes this was a true win and in playoff game, where the Lions and Packers would have been playing for a berth. Instead, the Lions were eliminated earlier in the day when the Seahawks beat the Rams. So the Lions are just kind of looking to spoil the Packers. And there's enough bad blood there that they clearly are still motivated in Lambeau Field. The Green Bay, the great cathedral of football, as Mike Tirico called it. And the Lions did win. They won the game. They played hard. They pulled out. They emptied the bag of tricks. Jamal Williams broke the Barry Sanders Lions record for touchdowns, got his 16th and 17th touchdown. Thank you, Mike Tirico, for pointing out it was in one more game in 17 games. How many people do not point that out? It just drives me nuts. And the sideline reporter said, Barry Sanders, feels like, his record being broken is a chance to remind people of my career, of the Barry Sanders career. And yes, it was. And you know what I remember? That record is 91 Barry Sanders, 16 touchdowns, that Lions franchise record for touchdowns. The rest of Barry Sanders' career, they would not give the ball to him at the goal line. They always had some other schlub who would get the 1-yard touchdowns, 6 or 7 of them a year. So frustrating. Williams is both a dynamic back, in the pass game, at least serviceable in the pass game, and he's that 1-yard schlub. So he breaks that record. Good for him. And the Jamal Williams just play. DeAndre Swift had a good drive. The Lions' run game was the difference in this game. That's why they won. And their aggression on 4th downs, not settling for field goals, trusting their offense. Gosh, great game from the Lions, man. I wish they were going to be in the playoffs. It wasn't what I expected. I expected the Green Bay Packers defense to come out here and pitch the trilogy, because they had shut down the Dolphins in week 16. Then they just slammed Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook in week 17. And now this was going to be sort of the, they on prime time sit down Goff and all this Lions stuff, but they were wearing down. They definitely got bullied. There was some stuff going on, but their 4th down conversions were really, really great. Who is the linebacker for the Packers? Quay Walker from Georgia. He got ejected for pushing a medical training staff member. His reverence for the medical training staff didn't even last a week from Damar Hamlin. There was another Packer in there who was also just imposing down on the medical guy. And then the whole reason they were even out there was a cheap shot from number 90. Packers, you deserve to lose this game. You're the bad guys. Lions got the interception on Rodgers, and then they had, the 4-minute drill. They need to run out the clock, and they pulled out all the stops to run out that clock. It was fantastic as a Seahawks fan watching that, though I'll talk about it, but I do wish the Lions got the reward for this. But they went for it on 4th down. Amon-Ra St. Brown is catching it between his legs, a crazy, almost Jermaine Kearse sort of type of catch in that Super Bowl. They do the run and shoot. They did the Miami play against San Diego in the 1981 divisional round, like the little screen to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who then pitches it back to DeAndre Swift, who got a good gain on the sideline to get them back into field goal range. And then, of course, the final 4th and 1, where they basically said, we have a choice. We could kick the ball. We could kick the field goal and go up 7 and give the ball back to Aaron Rodgers with about 1:40 left, or we could get 1 yard and win the game. Now, I know taking the points, kicking the ball is the manly thing for Phil Simms and Rex Ryan and Boomer Esiason and your favorite right-wing conservatives, but this is the manly way. Get that yard. Get that yard. You need an extra 3 points because you want to go to overtime if Aaron Rodgers scores a touchdown on you in less than 2 minutes. How about you get the yard? And how about you don't make plans for giving up a touchdown to Aaron Rodgers? If you don't get the 4th down, how about stopping him? This was the manly decision, and it paid off. The Lions won. Aaron Rodgers going home. You know, I'm sure there'll be speculation about him being a Packer. I don't care right now. It was a bad game from Aaron Rodgers. It was 2022 Aaron Rodgers out there. The baffling inability to move the ball. And he's got Aaron Jones, he's got Christian Watson, he's got Lazard, he's got Dillon, he's got a good offensive line. This is not Hercules pushing a boulder up a mountain all alone here, like Aaron Rodgers sort of passively aggressively wants us to hint at. The Lions are the number 32 defense in the league by many metrics. Aaron Rodgers should have won this game. And like every playoff game, he was just, hands up. I don't know. It's everybody else's problem. That's Aaron Rodgers tonight. And I'm glad they're not in the playoffs. My dad and Kirk were all on a text thread and we're just get Rodgers out of here. And it happened. And the Seahawks will play. I wish it was the Lions, though. I know that's like blasphemy to say as a Seahawks fan. Like, is a 7 seed really anything that great? You know, the Seahawks are a perfect 7 seed. We are cannon fodder. I'll be rooting for an upset, yeah, but we're cannon fodder for the 49ers next weekend. The Lions wouldn't have been. The Lions are clearly one of the 7 best NFC teams. It would have made the NFC field so much better to have the Lions in there. And they, of course, can be upset about the Seahawks game, which, the referees kind of helped the Seahawks beat the Rams this afternoon. That game is what eliminated the Lions. There was kind of a bogus roughing the kicker call. There was a bogus late hit call on Geno Smith where Jalen Ramsey was standing there and he got hit by Geno Smith. There's actually a missed taunting call as well. So the Seahawks got a lot of help from the refs to beat the Rams, which I interpreted as the Lions referee curse sort of making its way. It's sprinkled into our game here in Seattle. Like, oh, this is what it's like to be a beneficiary of just the horrific history with the refs that the Lions have. Every team complains about the refs, but the Lions and Browns are the only teams who can truly say that the refs hate them. Maybe the Saints. But the Lions, they definitely have the history of it. Even in this Sunday Night Football game against the Packers, Lions had to do everything twice. There was a deep bomb that Rodgers threw that was clearly intercepted. It was taken away for a ticky-tack hands to the face call. Then there was a different deep bomb that same guy intercepted later. That was the one to set up the final drive. And then Jamal Williams scored a touchdown, and they just didn't call it one. Incompetent spot, so he had to score it again. And on the final drive, there was a ticky-tack holding call as well, right before that run and shoot that I talked about, where St. Brown pitched it to Swift. It was such a cool play. That's life as a Lion, though. You got to do it twice. I think the playoffs would be more fun with the Lions. I do. I even think the Packers would be more fun than the Seahawks in the playoffs. And, it'll be fun. We'll talk about that more. Man, it's just, there is a multiverse where the Lions win the Super Bowl this year. They're so hot. They've just been so good. They could have pulled a 2007 New York Giants, something like that. But alas, they won. And it wasn't today. It wasn't the refs or the Seahawks that ruined the Lions' chances. The real culprit for the Lions not being in the playoffs is their 1-6 start. It's like that was part of the season too, Lions fans. Not just we're not going to throw out the first 7 weeks. Though I agree, it would have made a better matchup. All right. Welcome to the Mukilteo Football Show. Shows football everything, NFL history, legacy, ups and downs of a season. We are now in the playoffs. Follow us at MUK_football on Twitter or YouTube. Subscribe, share, review on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, wherever you get your podcasts. And I usually do the Sunday Best Awards. I'm just going to do the Sunday Best Awards, but I don't have really great names for everything. But the first award is to the city of Buffalo and that opening kickoff that Nyheim Hines returned after the Damar Hamlin, near death on the field on Monday. I talked about yesterday in yesterday's pod about how the first snap of football after that was the scariest snap of football. There's just something, and that's probably exponential for the people of Buffalo and for the team of Buffalo. So to have the first play as the Patriots kick it off and Nyheim Hines returns that for a touchdown, to just feel the breath of, okay, football's back. We're happy. It's a touchdown. It's a kickoff return touchdown. McDermott had tears in his eyes. Allen had tears in his eyes. Tony Romo's voice was cracking. Jim Nantz, as Nyheim Hines crossed the goal line, Jim Nantz was saying, "This is storybook." And Romo saying, "It's almost fate." And as fate does, comes back for seconds. That's classic fate. Hines had another kickoff return in this game. But it's just such emotional stuff. I'm sure, whoever the special teams coordinator for the Patriots, I believe it's Joe Judge, will be sacrificed to the gods to fuel Bill Belichick's long life. But 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns. There were only 4 kickoff returns this season, 4 other kickoff returns. 2 of the 6 happened here in this moment, with all the love for Damar stuff out there, with the need to just breathe. I honestly think, and this is hyperbole, we'll never be able to know otherwise, I honestly think that moment, that kickoff return, snapped the Bills back into Super Bowl favorites because they could just breathe. And of course, a huge part of it is the fact that Damar Hamlin is well enough to have watched that and to tweeted OMFG. So really cool, really great story. I am so relieved considering the other plot lines that we could have been following after that scary situation last Monday. All right, next award. Brandon Staley gets the Dumb and Dumber award because, my man, what are you doing? Chargers coach Brandon Staley put in all of his starters and all of his good players, including the ones who had recently been injured, such as Nick Bosa and Mike Williams, in a absolutely meaningless game. Once the Bengals beat the Ravens, the Chargers were locked into the 5 seed, no flexibility. They're playing the Jaguars next weekend. Absolutely nothing to play for. Mike Williams got hurt, carted off. Nick Bosa got hurt. Justin Herbert took huge hits to his ribs. Austin Eckler got blasted. Keenan Allen taking all these hits. The Broncos defense just teeing off out of a frustrating year. It made no sense to play these players. And injuries aren't like bad luck. They are inevitable. The only question is who and how bad. You play for the first round bye, right, Staley? Why do you even want the bye? Why do you even want the bye? If you're not going to take advantage of an opportunity to have a mini kind of bye for a lot of your guys here, why do you even want it? And then, this grinds my gears even more. Brandon Staley pulls Justin Herbert late in the 4th. That's almost worse. So you admit that pulling a player has some sort of positive effect? Why were they even playing in the first place? I would have respected Brandon Staley more if he said he doesn't believe in rest at all. You play the football games you're supposed to play. That's what he could have said, instead of some BS stay in rhythm stuff. We're in our 5th month of football. I think they're going to be able to handle. Do you think the Chiefs are like, oh, and the Eagles are like, oh man, we're not going to get to stay in rhythm? We don't get to play the wild card week. This was malpractice from Brandon Staley out there today, and they absolutely deserve to lose to the Jaguars for it. Now, I'm hopeful on the Mike Williams injury because he was carted off, and that's like all you see on the sideline. He walked off normally. There's something in his back. They carted him off, I think, precautionary, but we will get more information about that as we go. All right. Next award. The 7 seed to the AFC goes to Miami. Everything I said about the Seahawks being the 7 seed, same with Miami. Who cares? It doesn't. This drama didn't grab me. It's like Avatar. I don't get it. I get that it's fun to watch, but there's no substance here. The Dolphins won an 11-6 game over the Jets. They avoid the implosion. After a 5-game losing streak, they don't lose a 6, and they back into the playoffs here. Putting out the Pittsburgh Steelers, which would have been kind of a fun story. Mike Tomlin, Kenny Pickett, they've come on hard. They finished 9-8. Had the Jets beat the Dolphins, it would be the Steelers, which would have been quite interesting. But I don't know if Tua's going to play. We'll talk more about that matchup, Dolphins-Bills. But all right, next award, and we got to talk about this to set some time here to talk about this. The first overall pick goes to the Chicago Bears. Unbelievable. The Houston Texans had the beeline on the first overall pick all year long. It reminds me just like the 2020 New York Jets. They had the number 1 pick locked and loaded until they decided to win a couple games late and then gave up Trevor Lawrence. They would have had Trevor Lawrence if not for winning those back-to-back games as the Rams and the Browns. I'm referring to the Jets in 2020. When Sam Darnold paused throwing interceptions for a little bit. The Jets regret that, and the Texans are going to regret this. Now, let me preface it by saying no player, no coach gives it a flying F about this, nor should they. This is their careers, their reputations, their stats, their records. Nobody cares. Lovie Smith doesn't care for the Texans. Jeff Saturday doesn't care for the Colts. Davis Mills doesn't care. Sam Erlinger doesn't care. None of those players care about draft position or slightly higher draft position or they're beholden to some rookie to come save them. No, there's absolutely no way they care. So we're only talking about fan perception. And the fans, that's the position that we're talking about when I say like, oh, you blew it. You could have had the number 1 pick. That's what sucks. It's the Houston fans who are just, the Texans fans were rooting against this final drive. Colts went up with I think under a minute or like 90 seconds left in the game. Sam Erlinger throws a toe tapper to Mo Alley Cox. The Colts are up. Texans need a touchdown to win the game. That Davis Mills drive, which included a 4th and 12 toe tapper to Davis Mills and a 4th and 20. I don't even know what to call it. Like lob over the top of a safety who should have caught it for a touchdown. Like it was that the ugliest touchdown ever. And the cherry on top is when Davis Mills threw that touchdown to Jordan Akins, an extra point would send it to overtime. They go for 2 and they get it. They send the Colts, Jeff Saturday, into his losing streaks, most predictable losing streak of all time. And the Texans give the Bears the number 1 pick because the Bears had rested Justin Fields and they lost handily to the Vikings earlier in the day. That's incredible. The Texans did all that to get out of the number 1 pick. Now, who knows exactly how it'll play out because the Bears probably not in the market for a quarterback, whereas the Texans are, but this does put the Bears in a position for someone to leapfrog the Texans. So that's going to be interesting to talk about over the weeks after the playoffs. Okay, last award. Every year, you got a first ballot Hall of Famer who's retiring, who it's their final game. Last year, it was Gronk. Maybe. I don't think a lot of us knew that it was Gronk's final game, but, we had sensed it. Big Ben was more last year, Big Ben Roethlisberger. This year is J.J. Watt. For the Cardinals, he got a sack. He got a sack to put him as number 25 on the all-time leaderboards, at least the official all-time leaderboards. Per Pro Football Reference, they do have because the sack leaderboards, as I've complained about, officially only go back to 1982, which annoys me because of Deacon Jones, Mean Joe Green. That means they had 0 sacks. It means Lawrence Taylor had one season where his sacks didn't count because he started in 81. And I hate that. But J.J. Watt got to the 113th sack, 113 and a half. He'll be the 33rd all-time, according to the Pro Football Reference one, right next to Dallas defender Harvey Martin, Seahawks underrated defensive end Jacob Green. But J.J. Watt's name ascends beyond Harvey Martin or Jacob Green, maybe even Deacon Jones, because he's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. He was dominant in a way that made him one of the names of the NFL, a superstar up there with the quarterbacks. He legitimately had a year where he was on offense for a number of touchdowns, where he was floated for MVP. Legitimately. J.J. Watt was an absolute star, a force of effort and fun. It sucks that his career lines up so much with Aaron Donald, because Aaron Donald is the best defensive player maybe of all time. And J.J. Watt's kind of had to overlap with that a lot. But this is a first ballot Hall of Famer. J.J. Watt, good luck to you in all your endeavors. All right, we will be back this week to preview the 2022-2023 NFL Wild Card Round. My name is Miles. Good night.